Welcome to Oddball. I'm Amin Hassan. Right there in the slopes of Colorado somewhere is Izzy Gutierrez. Just a reminder, today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. And let's get right into show, Izzy. The Denver Nuggets last night were incredible as they just shellacked, a word I love. They shellacked the Dallas Mavericks. Jamal Murray exploded for 45 points. He had 32 in the first half, 12 of 15 from the field, and 4 of 6 from three. Nuggets, as I said, shellacked the Mavericks 118-99. Then have won 4 straight, 8 of their last 10. Izzy, here comes the obligatory. Have the Nuggets figured it out yet?
I'm not sure if they've entirely figured it out. If you look at some of their wins, like their last 10 wins, probably the most impressive was against Atlanta. Because like these last two against Dallas back-to-back with Kyrie just getting back and Luka not being there, not the most impressive wins. However, they're starting to get their groove back, if you will, because you got Aaron Gordon. Like to me, I mean, I don't know what you think about Aaron Gordon. I think in terms of the NBA these last several years, he has been sort of the perfect role player, like the ideal role player, especially for that team. Him getting back, and I don't even know if he's going to get back into that starting lineup, but if you have him at all next to Joker, I think that's a huge upgrade. You know, it's very important for them. But honestly, I think the whole difference to me has been Russell Westbrook in the starting lineup. I mean, the record indicates he's been so much important, very important to them. He is first in charges taken on that team. He's first in loose balls recovered. He's second in deflections behind Joker. Like he is exactly what that team kind of needs, a little bit of a lift, right?
Dude, I've been talking about this since the moment he signed with them. A lot of people are kind of like, oh, Russell Westbrook, he can't shoot. How are you going to put him on that team? And I said, look, man, first and foremost, we have to accept that, hey, do I want Russell Westbrook for $45 million? Not really. Do I want him for minimum? Absolutely. The guy can still play for sure, right? But then you start getting into like roles, right? People are thinking of him in LA as a Laker. Well, as a Laker, he was brought in to be the third best player. Shout out to Kent Bazemore. That's not always the best thing to be, right? And then when things went wrong, they blamed him. When he got to the Clippers, he was a buyout. So it was still kind of like, hey, I'm a great player. And now I get to choose what team I go to. Coming to the Nuggets, he comes as a minimum. He comes as a minimum signing, meaning there's an automatic acceptance like, hey, I am not what I once was. If I was, I wouldn't be taking minimum here, right? But then the other part of this that I love, Izzy, that I loved about the Westbrook acquisition is he plays with an energy, right? It gives them a spark, something this team really has been missing.
First points in the league.
There you go. Like they haven't had that kind of player in quite a while. But then more importantly, most of this roster are guys that have won a ring, basically. Obviously, Joker, you mentioned Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray, even the younger guys, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson. These guys all have a ring. And when you've won a championship, this isn't true for everybody, but there is kind of sometimes a little bit of a complacency that might seep in there. Russell Westbrook walks in and is like, hey, hold on, I don't have a ring. I'm desperate. That desperate energy that not only he plays with, but he holds everybody accountable to. And I think that's going to be an important cog into what brings the Denver Nuggets back into the championship contention picture.
So it's not like, you know, the example of, I don't know, Shaq trying to win one for Gary Payton and Alonzo Mourning. It's the opposite, right? It's Russell Westbrook sort of reminding them what it takes, right? And how important it is for him to win one. Because the thing that the image of Russell Westbrook, I think has taken a beating over the last several years. And, you know, I've talked to I got to get this one right. It's not the Joker, Nikola Jokic from the Miami Heat. And he said his favorite player ever, it was Russell Westbrook. And I asked him why. And he just said, he never cheats the game. He always feels like he's giving 100%. And if you were to ask, you know, basketball fans over the last few years, you'd probably think the opinion of Westbrook is, you know, kind of a jerk, can't shoot, maybe a little overrated, and argues with fans. Like that's all you get, right? But the idea that this former MVP, like, still brings value, right? Didn't he say about his LA Clippers days that they didn't use his unique skill set properly, but Michael Malone is doing that now?
Yeah, and I think the important thing, by the way, shout out to my kid who said Nikola Jokic is kind of like a wish Nikola Jokic, right? One letter off, even the number, couldn't afford the full number 15 on the jersey, so it's just a number 5. My kid can be funny sometimes. But, when I think about Westbrook and what you just described, years ago when I worked for the Phoenix Suns, Mark West was in the front office. Mark West, a longtime NBA vet. And he used to always tell me, like, don't tell me about the things he can't do. Tell me about the things he can do. Like, how can he help us? What are the ways he can help us? And I think sometimes we get into this place where we're overcritical about real flaws about players. In Westbrook's case, he does have real flaws. The decision-making sometimes leaves a lot to be desired. He's obviously not a great perimeter shooter, but we kind of gloss over all the cool shit he does in terms of being a professional, showing up, giving it all in practice, holding other people accountable, not being afraid of confrontation, not being afraid of standing up for what's right. And when you bring all those things, and then, like I said, that energy and that motor in a game, these are the things that absolutely Denver needed and was helped by. And as you described Nikola Jokic, and there are a lot of other young players who are like, yo, this is my favorite player growing up. It got me thinking, Izzy, is Russell Westbrook the most deserving non-champion to win his first ring? And
yeah, like the person who needs it the most on his resume. Yeah. And like there's a few people that are on that list, at least according to others. To me, Russ is on top of the list, like absolutely on top of the list, because every single accomplishment that he's had so far has just sort of been downgraded. It's just sort of been like, oh, okay, we can go back and watch clips of people saying how he robbed his teammates of rebounds and how he was, stat hunting and all that stuff. But yet he still averaged a triple-double, right? He still won an MVP. He still sort of kept a franchise afloat when Kevin Durant left. And now this is why I love seeing him and Joker finding that chemistry and just, passing the ball back and forth. And you want to talk about a guy who can fill in for Russell's deficiencies. Well, Joker said, all right, he can't shoot threes. I'll shoot 47% from three. We're fine there. So I think that pairing in itself is just kind of perfect. And I think Nikola wants it for Russell just as much as Russell wants it.
All right. So you say he's number one on the list.
I think easy.
Let me play devil's advocate. I'm going to throw out some names here. All right. Let's start with down in San Antonio, Chris Paul.
The reason I say Russ is ahead of him and like just the resume building, I know there was a point where people said Chris Paul might be the greatest point guard ever, but doesn't have an MVP, he's got other teams that he's elevated and what have you, but is more on the bad teammate side. If you were to really dig in terms of yes, he's a great leader, greatest basketball IQ, but a lot of teammates to say, yeah, that guy, I did not vibe with him. And you can argue that the same thing is true of Russell, but I just think the MVP puts Russell over the top.
I agree with you on Chris rubbing people the wrong way. I don't think there are too many people where Westbrook rubbed them the wrong way while they were teammates. Right. Maybe there are a couple of stories. Okay, here's another name. You said MVP is a prereq apparently for the Izzy list. How about James Harden?
Ooh, I don't know. I feel like you got to get him off that list, man, because I don't think people think he deserves the championship. I think people think he sort of, maneuvered the rules or manipulated the rules of the game in order to be able to become the scorer that he is. I think he is a crazy impressive scorer. I never think he's like a team leader. I never think he's somebody that hey, I rode with James Harden and we were so close. We should have done that. I just don't feel like he has that. I don't feel like he has that storyline to him. I think he's going to be looked at as one of the greatest scorers ever. And some people are going to criticize him again for how he manipulated the rules and whatnot. But I just don't feel like that's deserving of a championship as much as Russell Westbrook.
They went to the conference finals, 7 games with the Warriors.
Maxed out his potential, did everything he could, maxed him out. Then they couldn't hit a three to save their life.
All right, here's a guy who hasn't gone as far as the conference finals. What about Joel Embiid?
Why? You explain that one to me. Why does he deserve it? Give me a full season, dude. Get past the second round.
I'll say that Joel Embiid, maybe in the last year or so, maybe playing against the Knicks, takes a hit as far as your PR. But I think up until a year or so, maybe the Ben Simmons game a couple of years ago, maybe that was the turning point where people were rooting for Embiid versus whatever they do right now. Ooh, Jimmy Butler?
Come on. No, look, I'm a Miami Heat guy, okay? The idea that if he ends his career with a couple of finals appearances and that, performance against LeBron, he's good. I don't think he needs more validation. He doesn't need it
for his resume. Yeah, no. That's a good point. Okay, here's a guy, Kevin Durant, because according to Stugatz's personal record book, he doesn't have any rings. So
I will say that it definitely solidifies it because, look, him being the lead role on his team has not worked out so far in 3 different places. And you say what you will about Phoenix not working out. It's not working out. It doesn't look like it's working out. And so if he ends his career with those 2 championships only by Steph Curry, I think he'll even be pissed off and said, damn it, I needed another one to really, really put myself up there. But he doesn't need it. He's not on the list because he's got 2.
He's not on the list because he already has to. All right. So speaking of someone else on the list who has one, it's Kyrie Irving, right? The first game back after being sidelined for nearly 2 weeks due to that back injury, excuse me. He had 11 points on 4 of 18 shooting. Luka's still out and expected to miss all of January at a minimum. People I talked to behind the scenes says don't expect him to play in the All-Star game either, but we'll see how that goes. How worried are you, or should the Dallas Mavericks be about missing Luka for that long and Kyrie kind of not necessarily being 100%?
I don't feel like this team even worries that much about consistency, right? Because they kind of got put together and made a conference finals run like right away. And it feels like Luka, I do get concerned with a long-term injury. We already worry about him not being in the right shape. And if he's off for this long, if he's going to have to work himself back into shape, I think as long as they can maintain, a top 6, if they can maintain a top 6 seed, there's not really much to worry about, but they're not going to be in that top 6, are they?
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It's not necessarily, hey, when everyone's healthy, are they going to be good? It's like, where are we playing from? What is the position that we're playing from? Are we playing from, top 6? Are we playing from play-in? That builds kind of a level of degree of difficulty to it. Also, I remind everybody there's only been one team in NBA history that has gone on the road for 4 straight series and won them, and that's the 95 Houston Rockets. Like the closest thing, I guess, was the Miami Heat going to the finals, or I guess the 8 seed New York Knicks in 1999. But again, there's a reason it's only happened once. It makes it incredibly hard. And obviously the goal is to win it all, not necessarily just get there. So that's what I would be concerned about if I'm the Dallas Mavericks. One last crazy Joker stat of the day. He passed Larry Bird, become the fastest player in NBA history to record 15,000 points, 7,500 rebounds, and 5,000 assists. And he did it in 90 fewer games than Bird did. Are we ever gonna appreciate this guy in the moment, or is this one of those things like after he retires, like, whoa, he's a hell of a player?
We talked about it on Monday. Like, if people just focus on the stats, he's going to be the MVP. I don't think he will. I think Shea's going to win it. But these stats are always mind-boggling. Like, we've seen longevity stats from LeBron, but like these full numbers, like full season or in a game. And now these career numbers where he's passing Larry Bird and it doesn't even seem like he's reached his peak as a player. It's wild. And I think by the time he's done, it's unfortunate for LeBron, but by the time he's done, we're going to have a conversation about Nikola Jokic. Like, how good was he?
Let me stick up for Larry Bird here. Nikola Jokic plays on a team where they need him to do all those things. Larry Bird played with Parrish and McHale and Dennis Johnson and Danny Ainge and all these guys. How is he going to accumulate all those stats? Everyone else is hoarding it all.
I love Larry Bird defenders. And like, I once said a long time ago on Around the Horn that he wouldn't, and I was a kid. Like, I was an idiot of it. It was a terrible comment that I think he'd be like a fringe all-star in today's game. I take that all back. Like, the guy's a crazy, amazing basketball player, like just blessed.
Was Bob Ryan on the show that day?
No, but he let me have it afterward.
All right, let's go to break right here. When we come back, we got some basketball magic after the break. Stick around. All right, welcome back to Oddball. Amin Hassan, the cowardly lion over there Izzy Gutierrez. Nice hat.
Thank you, man. When you're staying where I'm staying over here in Aspen, and I don't want to say what it is, but it rhymes with the Schmitz Parlton, you get whatever you want. And so my ears were a little cold, so I just needed a little hat.
Honey, the owner of the Schmitz Parlton is like, honey, they mentioned us on Oddball.
I mean, we talk all the time about things like we want to fix in the NBA or like changes that we wish could happen. But like, how can we get that off the ground, you and me? I mean, we got some connections, but how do we get that off the ground? Because we got to make some changes in this league. We got to make some things happen.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, Izzy. I feel like at this point we need some kind of omnipotent, almost mythical being to grant wishes in order to get things changed around here.
That just sounds like a genie.
Well, yeah, like maybe like a basketball genie, like Kazam.
We already exist. We can't afford Kazam. Come on, man.
All right, can we get something cheaper, like a Temu version? There it is. It's Kablaam, played by Dwight Howard. God, we're
definitely
terrible.
cheaper than Shaq. Do we even have to pay anything for this? Probably not.
He probably pays us. All right.
What's up, Dwight?
What do we got? What's the first wish we want?
Well, I think my first wish has to do with LiAngelo Ball's new song, right? He got signed by Def Jam Universal for up to $13 million. I think $8 million of that was guaranteed. First of all, I've seen way too many updates on LiAngelo Ball than I ever expected to see. You got a Shams tweet right there on LiAngelo. It's like, it's wild. But my wish on this one is I just wish that every day that I wake up, I have no memory of this song and I hear it for the first time again, because I've said this a few times. It's a great song, but I don't want to hear it every day. I feel like it's jumped the shark. I mean, there are clips now of car accidents that are happening, and then they go to the dash cam, and what are they playing inside? This damn jam. I just want to hear it for the first time all over again every day. That's my wish, Dwight. I mean, Kablaam.
Sort of like a reverse Groundhog Day, right? Groundhog Day, He keeps waking up to the same day. But everyone else, it's the first time they're living it, but he's living it over and over again. You want the rest of us to live it over and over again, but for you, it's brand new every single time.
Absolutely.
All right. Okay, well, then you're going to love mine. I wish that he makes more songs. I want the market flooded with LiAngelo Ball music. I want Jello to be everywhere, all the time, omnipresent. Kablaam, can we make that happen? Well,
that actually leans into my wish, because give me another song. Drop the next track. Like, this one has, seen the course. Like, it's already done with. It's jumped the shark. Let's move on.
Yeah, it's only been like 2 weeks.
I know, it's crazy. That's how popular it's been.
Let's get to the second wish. So, Nick Gallo, who's the courtside reporter for the Oklahoma City Thunder, he was doing a post-game interview with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Thunder have this thing this year where the whole team kind of crowds around SGA whenever he has one of these post-game interviews. This time they decided to just drape Nick with towels. Just keep throwing towels on him as the interview goes on. The internet was like, oh my God, how disrespectful. My wish is that the internet just relax for a second. It's all good fun. It's not like Nick doesn't know who these guys are or vice versa. But I was wondering, because Izzy, you have done it at the highest level, national TV, ESPN, courtside reporting. Do you have any stories of, having these shenanigans happen during an interview?
I got a bunch of stories. Like, I've got a great story on Kobe just blessing me with a great interview. I've got a story of like waiting on LeBron on Cinco de Mayo after he hit a series winner against the Raptors and me freaking out because it's live television and I don't know what to do. He's just celebrating over there. But I think when it comes to distractions, probably shenanigans, my most memorable has to do with Drake in Toronto during a Golden State Warriors game where it was Drake night. And I actually got to interview Drake that day. It was my banner photo on Twitter for a while, but I got rid of that after Kendrick Lamar took him out. But I'm doing an interview with KD afterward, and Drake was kind of lingering. And I didn't really know that until after I had asked Kevin Durant the question about Drake night. And KD famously said, kind of looking toward Drake, which that's when I realized he was behind me, I don't give a damn about no Drake night. And that kind of went viral a little bit. And I liked it, but I will say that I was so hyper-focused that not even Drake right behind me could distract me.
I was wondering, did you for a second think KD was referring to you because you've dressed up as Drake for Halloween on Around the Horn?
I am not that egotistical to believe that Kevin Durant remembers that one time that I did Drake on Around the Horn. But I will say I showed Drake that picture of me from Around the Horn, and he seemed to love it.
Of course he did. Because he's a lovely human being who got abandoned by everybody, including you, Izzy, you fraud. All right, what else we got? What do we have?
My last wish has to do with Shedeur Sanders. He was at the Nuggets-Mavs game in Dallas. What does that mean? Deion Sanders tweeted that he wanted Greg Anthony's jacket, right? And then he gave it to Shedeur Sanders live on television. It was really odd because Shedeur didn't know what was going on. Jared Greenberg, the sideline reporter, was trying to explain to him, and it all looked really weird on television. I think here's my wish, and it's just going back to sideline reporting. I wish, and you can help me out here, Dwight Kablaam, if I can get a wardrobe deal from anybody, I will go back and do sidelines for any sport you want. Because I love looking good. I dress really well when I'm on camera. I try to anyway, this notwithstanding. And if I can just get free clothes, this is a little inside information on me. I thought when I started working at ESPN, that I would get wardrobes. Like I see all at the end of all the credits, like of sports reporters, and it's like wardrobe brought to you by, and I was like, why aren't I getting any of these suits? So if I can get a wardrobe deal, I'm back to sideline reporting. I'll even do pickleball. I don't care.
Look at this self-serving, man. I'm trying to fix basketball. You out here just trying to get
getting me back on the sidelines might fix basketball.
Oh my God. By the way, my favorite part about that story is Jared Greenberg. Zach Harper on the Athletic Bounce newsletter asked Jared Greenberg via text, did Shedeur think it was a prank? And Jared said, I have no idea. He had no idea. Only thing he said to me was, can you give it to me after the game? I said no. Lovely.
So it's just sitting on the back of his chair the whole time.
By the way, you know what my wish is? My wish is that Shedeur Sanders doesn't end up being a Dallas Cowboy. Like, I want more for you, kid.
I'm sorry.
I want success. I want blessings. I don't want you stuck in that hellhole.
You did not wish for infinite wishes, which I don't know why everybody's against that, but you did not wish for infinite wishes. That was more than 3 wishes, so we got to go.
Well, before we move on, I just want to let's just take a second here to talk about this. The idea that Deion Sanders could be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. This is according to Jordan Schultz. He said this on the Le Batard show. Quote, it's been made clear to me in no uncertain terms that should Deion want to pursue the job, should he have interest in the job, that he would be at or near the top of the list. Izzy, we should talk Deion out of this, right?
No. Deion's going to be great at that. I think he's going to be a better professional head coach than he was a college head coach. Look at what he's done in a few years. He went from an HBCU to Colorado, brought Colorado to the brink of the college football playoff, and now he's going to go to the NFL probably. And with the dream situation in Dallas, I think he's going to do great.
I'm not doubting Deion. I'm doubting Dallas. I want Deion. I want better for Deion too, man.
I want a Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders clash all the time.
Of course.
I want that power struggle, but I want that for him because I know Deion will absolutely own that owner.
All right, let's move on to Prop a Slot, the game that everybody loves. Prop a Slot is presented by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Yeah. All right, so the rules are, because this is your first time, slot machine will generate a real DraftKings prop bet from tonight's games. If we get to the third spin, we have to take that one. So at each one, we could stop or we can move on. So let's go ahead. Let me see the first spin. This is a totally random generated DraftKings prop. This is not our producers picking and choosing at all.
DraftKings is going to make me into a gambler. There's nothing I can do about it.
Well, thank God. All right, LeBron James over 22.5 points. He is minus 110 is what we're going with there. The Lakers are hosting the Heat. Remember, this was a game that was postponed because of the fires. Jimmy's out. So who guards LeBron? Jaime Jaquez, Haywood Highsmith? Well, where do you want to go?
This one's tough for me because normally I want to say LeBron's going to try to perform against the Heat, obviously with no Jimmy there. Anytime, let's say Tyler Hero is switched on to him or Jaime Jaquez even, I'm pretty sure he's going to try to bully them. But I'm afraid because I know the Heat play great defense against guys like LeBron. They sort of make him see, more bodies than he's used to seeing, even at this age. And so I think I want to spin again.
All right, we're skipping on this bet. Let's go ahead and spin. What else we got? Now we can't go back to this.
Yeah.
That was a good bet.
I regret
you
that
talked
one.
me off of Pistons Knicks the other night, by the way. I still haven't given you a hard time about that. All right, speaking of the Knicks, how about that? I really didn't know that was coming up. Josh Hart over 10.5 rebounds. That's going for minus 135. The Knicks are at the Sixers Wednesday night. Hart has had 11 or more rebounds in 11 of the last 12 games. Sixers played last night and had 5 front court players inactive. Basically, everybody you've ever heard of was inactive. If this is a blowout, does Hart get enough minutes to hit the number? I'm going to tell you right now, I don't like this bet at all. Do you?
I feel like it should be off the board because they have no idea who's going to play for Philly. It could be all of those guys. It could be none of those guys. And so I feel uncomfortable with it although, and Josh Hart always gets the big rebounds. If this game is, 15, 20 point gap at any point in the game, not going to be hitting the boards that hard. I feel like we need to spin again.
Don't trust him. All right, last spin. Here we go. We have to stick with this one. Reminder, I wanted LeBron over 22.5. Izzy overruled me because he was curious. He wanted to see what else. Yeah. We got Wemby over 3.5 threes. That's a lot of threes. The Spurs are hosting Memphis plus 135. Izzy, we got to take it because Oddball's over.
I feel good.
Michael Jordan's still the greatest.